ادع إلى سبيل ربك بالحكمة والموعظة الحسنة وجادلهم بالتي هي أحسن.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين. أما بعد. So this is the homework from last lesson, to join together these 4 words. The first one, we have ha, then a small alif, dhal, then a big alif. Ha, the beginning of a word, is written like this. This alif is something which is just added on. It doesn't have a chair to sit on, it's just added. Dhal, like this. Alif, we can't join to the dhal because dhal is from the letters that don't join with what comes after. So alif is written by itself. Ha has a fatha, dhal has a fatha. How do we read this? Hadha, hadha. This is how we read it. Okay, this small alif is something which is written in the Quran. It's written in the Quran because we don't want people making mistakes when they recite the Quran. So the scholars, they've added this small alif here after the ha to make it easy for people to read this word. Otherwise, if this alif was not there, people would say hadha, hadha, and that's wrong. Although this is how it's supposed to be written. It's actually written like this. Outside of the Quran, it's written like this. Hadha is written like this. But in pronunciation, it's pronounced hadha. So the alif here is pronounced but not written. It's pronounced, we pronounce it, but it's not written. This is how it's supposed to be. But inside of the Quran, we have this small alif added here. The scholars have added it to make it easy for people to pronounce. And this hadha, this word, is a noun. And it's a demonstrative pronoun. We use it to point things out. Say hadha bab, this is a door. Hadha masjid, this is a masjid, and so on. This is actually the first lesson in Medina Book 1. The first lesson in Medina Book 1. What does it mean? This. This. The second word, Sin, Mim, Ain. How do we join these 3 letters together? Sin at the beginning of a word is written like this. Okay, and then Mim, we mentioned we have several options. Today I'm going to do this one. The one that looks like this, and it's colored in. I'm going to use this one for a change. Okay, I'll use that one. And then Ain is written like this. Fatha, Kasra, Fatha. Sa, Mi, A. Sami'a, Sami'a. I'm going to write it a different way actually, just to get more practice. You can write it like this as well. Sa, mi, a. Sometimes this is written like this, and sometimes it's written like this, just the line that goes back. That line that goes back is a meme. Sami'a. Sami'a means to listen. So this is a verb. To listen or to hear. The next word, Sad, Ra, Alif, Ta. Sad, and then we're using this type of Ra, and then Alif, because we can't join it to the Ra, it has to be written by itself, and then we can't join the Ta to the Alif, it has to be written by itself. Sad has a kasra, Ra has a fatha, Alif is vowelless, Ta has a fatha in this case. طيب, in this case, the Ta has a fatha. Sirata. Sirata is a noun. It means path. Path. Path or way. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم, the path of those whom you have favored. Part of Surah Al-Fatiha. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide us to the straight path. The final word, Ain, Lam, Mim. Ain at the beginning of a word is written like this. Lam just goes up, and then meme. We can do that, or you can do this. There's different ways. طيب. عين has a فتحة, لام has a كسرة, ميم has a فتحة. This says علم. علم. علم means to know. This is where ilm, knowledge, comes from, to know. Okay, this is the homework. As for today's reading exercises, then we're going to learn two new concepts. We're going to learn a new concept on this page, and we're going to learn a new concept on this page. So before reading this one, inshallah, I'm going to explain what's happening here. Let's explain on the board. So the new concept on this page that the author wants to teach us is how do we stretch kasra. So imagine this is a letter now. Kasra comes at the bottom. This is how we represent kasra. E, B, T, Th. And it's one count. Just like fatha, one count. To make it two counts, we need to add a ya. And not just any ya. This ya has to be sakin. Sakin is the opposite of mutaharrik. A letter either has a haraka or a sukun. These are two opposites. Haraka is a vowel. Fatha, kasra, dhamma. These are the three vowels that we mentioned. We have three vowels. Fatha, kasra, dhamma. Movement. A, E, and U. Dhamma we're going to learn later. The opposite of haraka is sukun. Sukun basically means the letter is vowelless. The letter is vowelless. It has no vowel. And this is how we represent it. The sukun sometimes looks like this. Sometimes it looks like this. And sometimes there's nothing there. If there's nothing there, it means that this letter is vowelless. Okay. So to stretch a kasra, taking it from one count to two counts, there needs to be a ya after it. And this ya must have a sukun. This ya must have a sukun. It must be vowelless. It must be vowelless. If the ya has a fatha, then there's no stretching of the kasra. We're going to read the ya. So if it was hamza, we would say, and the ya had a fatha, we would say iya, iya. If it had a kasra, iyi. If it had a different vowel, the dhamma, iyu, and so on. So there's no stretching. It has to have a sukun for it to be stretched. And the letter before it has to have a kasra. If the letter before it is anything else, then there's no stretching. So there's two conditions. The first letter has to have a kasra. The second letter has to be a ya, and it must be sakin. You could say three conditions. So the first letter has to have a kasra. The second letter has to be a ya, and this ya has to have a sukun. So three conditions for it to go from one count to two counts, two harakat. So here we would say E. If it was a ba, we'd say B. If there was no ya, we'd say B. With ya, B, T, T, two counts. So now we're learning how to stretch the kasra. We've already learned how to stretch fatha. Fatha, one count, a, ba, ta. To stretch it two counts, we need to add alif. A, ba, ta. And the alif is always sakin. So we don't need to say the alif has to have a sukun. Because the alif will always come sakin. It doesn't take a fatha, kasra, dhamma. So with this, there's two conditions. Yani for stretching a fatha, two counts, there's two conditions. You have to have a letter with a fatha, followed by an alif. We just mentioned two conditions. With this, we mentioned three conditions. We have to have a letter with a kasra, followed by a ya, and this ya has to have a sukun. Three conditions. Why do we mention three conditions? Because the ya could have a fatha, could have a kasra, could have a dhamma. It's not always sakin. But with alif, the third condition is not mentioned because alif is always vowelless. We don't need to mention it has to have a sukun. This is the state of the alif. Anyway, it's automatically sakin. Okay, so these are the two vowels that we've learnt so far. And these are how you extend it from one count to two counts. And you'll notice that when we go to the next chapter, we're going to learn the third vowel. And then after learning the third vowel, we're going to learn how to stretch that vowel from one count to two counts. And it's going to be something similar to this. So in total, we're going to have 6 vowels. 3 short vowels and 3 long vowels. Let's read now. So here we have a letter, whatever letter it is, and then we have a ya with a sukun. That means we have to stretch it 2 counts now. So we say يمد بمقدار حركتين. It's going to be prolonged 2 counts, 2 harakat. Okay, let's read. Ni, that's 1 haraka. Ni, 2 harakat. Yeah, ni. Li. There should be a kasra here. لا بأس. li. قي. سامعة. So we're prolonging 2 harakat because the kasra has a ya sakina after it. سميعة. نذيرة. قادرة. رفيعة. Should have a kasra. رفيعة. كبيرة. صلاتي. نكيري. لا أزيد. خاشعين. حافظات. حافظين. صادقين. So this kasra is meant to be moved to the left, and this fatha is meant to be moved to the left also. So D and the fatha is supposed to be on top of the qaf. صادقات. حاضرين. طالبين. خاشعات. سائلين. هذه. So this is similar to هذا, the homework that we did today. So this alif is added in the Quran, but outside of the Quran it's not there. And this is another demonstrative pronoun. هذه. This is also something we are going to study in Medina Book 1, inshallah. It also means this, but this one is used for feminine objects. هذا is used for masculine things. هذه. فيهما. أبيه. عباده. لطائفه. ببالغه. لا فيها. يمينك. بضنين. ذاكرين. أصابعه. بزكاتك. مساكين. آذانه. بزيادته. So this is this page. Okay, the new concept is stretching kasra 2 counts. To stretch kasra 2 counts, we need to add a ya with a sukun. Okay, the next page now, we also learn a new concept, and that is the ta marbuta. The ta marbuta. I'm going to explain it on the board. Ta al marbuta, basically, we have ta maftuha. Ta maftuha. This is the normal ta that we've learnt. Ta which is open, ta maftuh. Or mabsuta, another name for it. This is the normal ta that we've taken. When you get these 2 ends and tie it together, it becomes marbuta. It becomes tied together, and the dots go on top. So we have this type of ta. Okay, this is what we're learning now. This type of ta, ta marbuta. This ta marbuta, the tied up ta or the closed ta, is something which only appears at the end of a word. It only comes at the end of a word. The other ta, the normal ta, comes in the beginning, like, for example, this word ta-ba. So it comes in the beginning. It can come in the middle, like in this word fataha, and it can come in the end, like this word bata. So this ta, the open ta that we've taken, alif ba ta, comes in the beginning, comes in the middle, comes in the end. This ta, the closed ta, ta marbuta. How do you write marbuta? Let me just write it. Marbuta. And actually look, this is the ta marbuta. It's called marbuta and it has the ta marbuta included in the word. Okay, marbuta means closed, tied up. This ta marbuta only comes in the end. That's the first difference. Okay, first difference is that the ta maftuha comes in the beginning, middle, end. Ta marbuta only comes in the end. That's the first difference. Second difference is that this ta is always going to be pronounced as ta. You just need to look at the haraka, the vowel that's on it, and say ta or ti or tu or tan, tin, tun. You just read according to the vowel that's on the ta. Whereas this ta, the ta marbuta, it's only read as a ta when you are continuing. When you continue with the word, you look at what it has, ta, ti, tu, tan, tin, tun, and you read it when you're continuing. I'll give you an example now. ويل لكل همزة لمزة. ويل لكل همزة لمزة. Okay, let's concentrate on these two tas, yeah? This is a ta marbuta and this is a ta marbuta. This ta marbuta is written like this because it doesn't join to the za. Okay, there's two ways of representing the ta marbuta. Like this, and you write it like this if it doesn't join to the letter before it. Or like this. That's if it joins the letter before it. So there's two ways. Same like ha. Remember ha at the end is written like this. We write it like this at the end if it's not joined. And if it is joined, we write it like this. So the same way we represent the ha, that's how we represent the ta marbuta. And it's important to know that because there's a relationship between the ta and the ha. Okay, and this is what we're going to explain now. So in terms of writing, we understand that it can be written like this. We said that if you continue on this ta marbuta, when you continue on it, that's when you read it as a ta. So you look at what it has. Here it has kasratain. We haven't learnt this yet. So we say tin. Anyway, this is how it's pronounced, tin. If you had a fatha, ta, humazata, and we carry on. Humazatu, you read it as a ta, whatever the case, if you're continuing. But if you stop on this ta marbuta, you're going to read it as a ha. You're going to read it as a ha with a sukoon. Yani a vowelless ha. So here, this ayah we say, وَيْلٌ لِكُلِّ هُمَزَةٍ لُمَزَةٍ. The ta becomes a ha. So this is where the relationship between the writing of the ha and the ta comes in. Because when you stop on it, you pronounce it as a ha. It's still written as a ta with the two dots, but when you stop on it, you pronounce it as though it's a ha with a sukoon. وَيْلٌ لِكُلِّ هُمَزَةٍ لُمَزَةٍ. لُمَزَةٍ. طيب. This is the concept that the teacher or the author, he wants to teach us. So there's two main differences. Ta marbuta only comes at the end. The open ta comes in the beginning, middle, and end. That's the first difference. Second difference, the open ta is read as ta in all cases. Whether you're stopping, whether you're continuing, it's ta, whatever the case. Ta marbuta is only a ta, it's only read as a ta if you're continuing. If you're stopping, it turns into a ha with a sukoon. That's the second difference. There's a final difference, and that is ta marbuta is always going to be preceded by a fatha. The letter before ta marbuta will always be a fatha. Fatha, fatha. Yeah? Before ta marbuta, you always find a fatha. But the open ta can be preceded by any haraka. It can be kasra, dhamma. The letter before it can be anything. Yeah, it can have anything. This one will always be a fatha before it. Okay, there's only one exception, and that is, yani, if it's not a fatha, then it's going to be alif. Yeah, like for example, this word, fatatun. Fatatun means a young girl. So here we have the ta marbuta, and here it's preceded by alif. So it's either going to be preceded by a sakin, a letter with a sakin, which is normally going to be alif, or fatha. Yeah, one of these two only. طيب. So hopefully now everyone understands the ta marbuta. Okay, let's read this. And we're going to read as though we're continuing. We're going to read it as a ta. We're not stopping, yeah? So we're not going to say nasiha, because if we stop, it turns into a ha, as we mentioned. But we're not doing that. We're just going to pretend we're continuing. Nasihati, rafi'ati. Supposed to be a kasra under the fa. Rafi'ati, qatarati, غاشية داحضة آخرة مضاجع وأبيه ولده طعامه آلهة حجارة بصحاف مريضا سفينة آمن تجارة نعاجه بمفازته عبادته وهذه لأبيه صاحبته عاصفة أحاديث بلساننا في زينته أساطير كفى. Remember, this is the alif. كفى بنا وخلاله. Have to stretch this lam because of the small alif. وخلاله شياطين فخشيت لابثين واعظين إذا قضى خطاياي